Hello everyone, hi guys. If you could please turn your cameras on as we start today's session. Okay, everyone, please with your cameras on. I'm gonna give you guys a couple of minutes. Okay, guys, thank you so much to those of you who are turning your cameras on. Okay, guys. So please, those of you who are missing, don't forget to turn your cameras on. There's a lot of people in this group, isn't there? All right, guys. So first of all, I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Andrea de la Torre, and I will be covering for Mr. Marcelo today and tomorrow, since he won't be able to have today's class, and he won't be able to be in class tomorrow either. So I'll be taking over for these 2 days. And well, I am an ESL teacher. I work for Executive English as well. I've been working here for the past 3 years, and I've been teaching TOEFL and English as well. I took the TOEFL test myself, of course, and I got 114. I took it only once on May the 22nd, 2022. And well, I got 114 out of 120, which is the maximum score, as you guys may know already. And well, I'm going to just be taking over for these 2 classes, and then you'll continue your classes with Mr. Marcelo. Okay, guys? So I don't know if you guys have any questions before we start today's class. Is there anything you would like to say? Any comments, anything before we start?
Excuse me, I don't know if it's just me, but I hear you so not slow, bajito.
Is it just is that happening for everybody? Can anybody please confirm? Can you guys hear me well?
So I can hear you very well. It doesn't have a problem.
Okay,
Okay,
good.
I'll work it on my computer.
All right, Sebastian, don't worry. Thank you for letting me know. Any other question, any other comment before we start? Okay, guys, so please don't forget to turn your cameras on. I'll give you guys a couple more seconds as we get started with today's class. Today I was told that we are going to be practicing speaking section. I understand that you guys have been working on the speaking section last week, and we're going to be basically just practicing the speaking question number 1 today. That's what we have programmed for today. So do you all have the template with you? Are you ready to prepare question number 1 of the speaking section? Do you know what to do already? Have you seen the theory of it? Do you guys have any questions before we start practicing?
Yes, we actually were practicing a little bit about question 2, not
Oh, really?
not question 1. We did it.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. So I was told to practice question 1, but maybe we can do 1 and 2 if you guys have already seen question 2 and 3.
Actually, like we had that intro for the question number 2 that we didn't like see.
Oh, okay, you didn't get to see anything. You haven't seen the template yet?
Not yet.
All right. Okay, well,
Of
in that
question two, we have to see the theory. Because of question one, we already seen the theory and we already practiced too.
yeah, well, I don't know really because Marcelo told me that we needed to be working on question one. So I'm gonna be sending him a text to see if that's correct, to check. Give me a second, please. Okay, let's see if he gets back at me. Okay. Okay, so he's telling me that we should be practicing question one today, and tomorrow we can start with the second one. So that's what we're going to be doing. Okay, guys, so we're going to be mastering, I think, the speaking section is all about practicing. As you might have already noticed, it's all about practicing, and it's honestly really good and really useful to hear some feedback from somebody who is listening to your responses. So why don't we practice question one today, and tomorrow we'll be continuing where Marcelo left off with the second question. Okay, guys, does that sound good?
Yes, it's not a problem.
Okay, guys, thank you so much. So practicing is always going to be useful. So you already have the template in that case for question one. Why don't we start? Remember, for this question, you will basically just read the question on your screen. You will hear the question as well. Somebody's going to be reading it for you. And what you guys need to do is try not to listen to the entire thing, the instructions and what they are saying. Focus more on reading the question on your own and preparing your response. That's essentially the number one thing you should be doing during those 15 seconds. So we're going to be going one by one. Let's start with, okay, let's go back here. All right, guys. So we're going to be starting with this question here. It says, some students prefer to work on class assignments by themselves. Others believe it is better to work in a group. Which do you prefer? Explain why. Now you all have 15 seconds to prepare your responses. All right, is there anyone who would like to go? Perhaps we can start with Luis.
Okay.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, I prefer to work on class assignments by myself. Since you can work and you can develop yourself and you can understand all the material. Firstly, you can develop yourself for you are doing all the tasks. As a matter of fact, when you when you study by yourself, you can understand all the topic. Secondly, you can understand all the material as you are doing this alone. To illustrate, I was doing an assignment about biology, and I have to study all the topics for this assignment.
Okay, thank you so much, Luis. That was a really good response. So I really don't have many comments. What I could maybe say is that I noticed that you were a little bit nervous, and maybe that's why you were sort of repeating the same idea. Until you got to your example, you were practically saying the same, that you can understand the material better, and you repeated that idea throughout the entire response. So my suggestion would be when you're preparing, try to always focus on finding two different ideas that are not related, otherwise you'll sound a little bit repetitive. And your example was good, I'd say, but maybe I would want you to focus more on the part that relates to your reason. For example, you're saying that when you study by yourself, you can understand things better. So in your example, you talked about how you prepare for this biology test, or you were doing this biology assignment on your own, and focus on the part, make sure that you fit in your response, saying something that relates to what you said before. So tell me, for example, last week I was working on this biology project. I did it on my own, and I got a better grade since I was able to understand the information better, per se, so that you can relate back to what you said before. But other than that, I think it was pretty smooth. Well done. Just make sure that when you're preparing, you think of at least two reasons. Okay, but I was good.
Thanks, I will consider.
Okay, Luis, any questions so far? What can be another reason for this question? Can you guys think of another one?
You don't lose time playing. Yeah, you don't waste time.
Exactly. Yes, I like that idea. So yes, you can work under your own schedules. You don't have to be waiting for somebody else to do the work. You can work whenever you want. So maybe that can be another reason. Aside from maybe concentrating better, learning more, understanding better the material, you can also work under your own schedules. Try to always, when you guys are like practicing and like thinking of reasons for the different reasons, for different questions, sorry, try to make sure that you remember the reasons that you thought about and that you summarize, because most of the time you will see that those same ideas, you can use them for other questions as well. Remember that these topics are the same. Question by question, you'll be finding the same topics: education, work, health, lifestyle. So when you think of an idea, make sure that you, after you have practiced, you summarize what your ideas were. So let's say understanding the material better and working under your own time. So probably you'll be able to use those reasons later in another question. That's really good, thanks. So let's go with another one. Here says, many universities now offer academics over the internet. However, some people still prefer learning in traditional classrooms. Which do you think is better? Explain why. Now you'll have 15 seconds to prepare. All right. So, Sebastian, please. You may start now.
Okay.
We can hear you, Sebastian. You're muted.
Oh, sorry, I was talking with the microphone turned off. Can we repeat it, please?
Yeah, of course. Don't worry about it. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I think that they offer academic courses over the internet. It's a good reason. It's a good way to learn new things. For you can have a lot of courses online. Firstly, you have more topics to take, and you can have more options to learn. As a matter of fact, I already took 3 courses on internet, and it helped me to improve my English. Secondly, you can have more knowledge. To illustrate, I learned a little bit of Italian last year.
All right, great, well done, Sebastian, thank you. So I don't have many comments either. Maybe your introduction was a little bit too long. I would consider summarizing the introduction a little bit more, summarizing the main idea. How is another way in which you could rephrase your introduction for this question? A little shorter.
Well, I think that I could maybe uh, don't repeat the same ideas, I think, because when I am nervous, I used to repeat a lot of things because I can't think clearly.
Okay. Yeah, it's normal. You tend to repeat. You don't use to repeat. You tend to repeat the ideas when you're nervous. That's fine. Did you prepare 2 reasons or did you only have time to prepare one?
Yeah, I just have time to prepare one. That's why I repeat a reason for the first one. The second one, I tried to do it fast, but I just had 10 seconds, no more.
Okay. So yeah, well, what I was saying initially was the reason why you were running out of time at the end was because your introduction, the first part, the first sentence was a little bit long. And maybe I would try to work on that part, summarize it a little bit more. For example, you could say, one pro tip that I can give you guys, always try to answer the question using the same verb that they use. So for example, in this case, the question is, which do you think is better? That is actually the question, right? The one that has the question mark. So try to answer the question using the same verb. Maybe I'd say something like, I think it's better to take online courses, for example, right? You don't necessarily have to use the same. Make it faster, make it shorter so that you have time to work on the body, to explain the body. Now, as for what I'm seeing, you guys are having maybe some problems in coming up with ideas. One tip that I can give you guys for that would be, and it's actually related to what I was saying before. If you realize every time that you answer one question, you could actually use those reasons for other questions as well. So my suggestion here will be for you guys to create one reason sheet, is what I call it, where basically you're going to be writing down the reasons that you consider are very general, very broad, that you could perhaps use for other questions. For example, very common reasons that you can many questions are these: efficiency, safety, productivity, learning, and basically the experience of something. For example, in this question, you could totally use the ideas that you prefer online courses because you save time, you save money, let's say. Those would be 2 reasons that fit in this context, right? What the one that you use, you learn more, you can develop new skills, you can acquire knowledge, as you said, you can access to more information, which I think is related to what you were saying. If we think about the previous question, it was a little bit more about productivity, right? You can concentrate better working alone, or maybe you can share ideas working with other people. So I'm going to share this document with you guys, but what I would suggest is that you create your own research sheet. Because if you just have this and you're trying to read it, you won't really like take in all of this information. In order for you to like record that on your memory, you need to actually practice, answer the questions, and write down the reasons that you can come up with that will be useful for other questions. Okay, guys, but think about this, think about short, easy reasons. Saving time, saving money, something being healthier, risk of accidents, concentrating better, more access to information, or if you really don't know what to say, just talk about something being better. You can say, to me, it's more fun to take online courses, let's say, or it's less stressful. So I'm going to share this document with you guys, but I really recommend that you create your own. Is this okay? Do you guys have any questions here? Okay, guys, thank you so much. Let's continue then. So our next question says, let's not do this one, it's a little bit subjective. Let's see. So, some people enjoy taking risks and trying new things. Others are not adventurous. They are cautious and prefer to avoid danger. Which behavior do you think is better? Explain why. Now you guys will have 15 seconds to prepare your responses. Okay. So, Julia, please.
Sorry. Okay.
All right, go ahead.
I think it is better to take risks and try new things for two main reasons, since you will have new opportunities and you will be able to develop yourself. Firstly, you will have new opportunity for you will be out of your comfort zone. As a matter of fact, there was studies from the New York Times that said that people that usually seek for new opportunities end up being wealthy. Secondly, you will develop yourself as you will start developing more skills for job, academics, etc. To illustrate, there was a friend that studied outside. She was scared. She's now studying at McGill in medicine, but she has developed herself fully.
Okay. All right. So great. Your two, what were your two reasons? Your second was that you can grow, right? Maybe careful with the phrase.
Yeah.
I don't think develop yourself would fit too much. You can say you can grow personally, or in other contexts, maybe grow professionally. But in this case, probably grow as a person, you know? What was your first reason?
You could have new opportunities.
Okay, perfect. I love the fact that they are completely different from one another. You had a good, a good piece of evidence for both the study that you mentioned in the beginning and the example of your friend. Your introduction was short. It was really well structured. Grammar was good. I noticed you were speaking a little bit fast. Maybe in the beginning it wasn't so clear. You weren't articulated that well because of the time factor. So even though it is true that, you have to make it on time, I would recommend maybe taking a little bit more slowly so that you can articulate really better the words and have a better delivery. But overall, it was a really good response. Well done, Julia. Don't have many. Yes, let's go with another one. So think about, right? Those are reasons you could probably use in other questions. Accessing opportunities and growing as a person. Okay, guys, let's talk about this question. Some people think that family members are the most important influence on young adults. Others believe that friends are the most important influence. Which do you agree with? Explain why. We'll now have 15 seconds to prepare. Okay, so let's go with David.
Okay.
All right, you may start.
Well, I think that family members are the most important influence on young adults. Since they are your relatives, you have a relation of love and feelings, and then it's about experiencing life. Firstly, love feelings for, okay, you were born in this family, so you have engagement. As a matter of fact, I read an article that when you have good connection with your family, you will grow healthy. And then it's about experience. You have to trust in them because they have lived more than you.
Okay, loved your response, David. Well done. So you had two reasons. They were different from one another. So they are part of your family. Maybe you spend more time with them and you're engaged to them, and you need to trust them because they have more experience. So both reasons were really good. They were different. You had an example for the first. You were missing probably an example for the second or some type of evidence, but I would honestly say it's fine because really at the end of the day, it's not too much about the amount of content though in your response. It's more about the quality. And it was a really good response. Careful with the expression, trust them instead of trust in them, right? In Spanish, we say confiar en alguien. In English, we say trust someone.
Someone, yeah. Okay, thank you.
Okay. So this question here says, do you agree or disagree with the following statement? Use details and examples to explain your answer. All children should be required to learn a second language in school. You will now have 15 seconds to prepare. Okay, why don't we go with Juan Pablo?
Okay.
Okay, you may start.
I think children should learn a second language in school since the world is so big and they can work in other countries. Firstly, the world is so big and they will travel to other country and they have to communicate. Secondly, as they can work in other country without their language, so they have to learn a second language like the English.
Okay, perfect. So, okay, I like your response. I maybe could talk about the expressions, the idiomaticity. Like in the beginning, you were saying the world is big, okay? And you need to communicate. I would maybe do it the other way around. I would say I believe all children should be required to learn a second language since they will be able to communicate with other people and they will have maybe better professional opportunities. And then you can talk about working and talking about travel, right? As an explanation of those ideas. So maybe it's just the way that you're phrasing your ideas, because your ideas were really good. So maybe keep that in mind, communicating and opportunities, which are actually reasons, as we said before, that you could probably use in other questions. So maybe the phrasing, but yeah, I would maybe add more details. Remember that most of the questions say use details in exams. So I think maybe that's what was missing in your response. Tell me about it. You mentioned the English language, which is okay, but maybe give me some more details. Maybe you can talk about yourself. You can say, for example, I don't know, I'm working in Australia right now, even though I am a Spanish native speaker. Yes, Sebastian?
Yeah, I have a question. When you talk in the TOEFL, do they I don't know, put attention on the answer? I mean that if your answer is more complex, do you have more points? It's like when you say I think children should learn a second language because it's it can help them in the future, and they can interact with other people, you know. That's a very, very simple question with very simple reasons, but it works in a answer.
Okay. So, well, to be completely honest with you, first of all, if you guys want to know how the ATS actually evaluates your responses, I have a presentation, but aside from that, let me show you. They have the rubrics available online. I don't know if you have seen that. Have you?
I don't think so.
Okay. So I'm gonna show you guys and I'll send you the link. If you search for TOEFL speaking rubrics, then you'll basically have a detailed explanation of what they want. Now, in order for me to summarize it to you, I think you need to understand three things. They evaluate your response based on three things. The first one is the content of your response. So when I say content, what I basically mean is the topic development. That's part one. And in this part, what they want is for your response to be coherent. They want your response to make sense. So if they're asking about learning a second language, you're not obviously not going to talk about like listening to music, let's say. So your response needs to be logical, it needs to be coherent, it needs to actually answer the question that they're asking, it needs to be related, and overall, it needs to be concise, clear, and not redundant. You know, you cannot be repeating the same ideas. And that's basically what they say here. You know, well developed, coherent, relationships between ideas are clear. So that is what you say. So what you say does matter. Sometimes some people think that this is speaking, so the only thing that matters is the fact that you speak well. But it's not just about that, you know, it's about answering the question. Now, the second thing that they're going to be evaluating is your delivery. With delivery, basically what they mean is the way that you speak, the way that you deliver your response. Now, this is, of course, related to fluency, but when I say fluency, I don't want you guys to have the idea that you have to sound like a native speaker, because that's not at all the goal here. Remember that people from all over the world take this test. It's not just Latin American people that are going to take it. You know, in the English language, we have so many different accents, even if you're trying to sound like a standardized US American. Within America, you have so many accents. So it's not about sounding like a native speaker, because there's no such thing as that. But the goal is being able to communicate clearly. So the person who's listening to you should put no effort into understanding what you're saying. That is the goal there. You know, delivery, pauses, filler words, and stuff like that. And finally, what you're asking is related to the third point, which is language use. The way that the tools that you use to express yourself. Now, my suggestion in this part, you know, I took this test. To be quite honest with you, I didn't have such a complicated response in the speaking section, such complicated responses. The goal here is to use correct grammar. Try not to make too many grammar mistakes. Try not to repeat the same grammar mistakes or demonstrate that you are struggling with one specific point, because that will obviously lower your score. Second thing, vocabulary. Now, here's, I would say, the part where many students get confused. They try to force themselves to use very complex vocabulary, very sophisticated vocabulary. And sometimes by doing that, they lose one thing that is very important, which is idiomaticity. What does that mean? That basically means sounding natural, you know, because if you try to force yourself to use words without context, without knowing how to actually use them, just because you want to like use a fancy word there, then you risk sounding unnatural, sounding weird, sounding odd. So the purpose here is to sound natural, you know, to have expressions that are commonly used. So that's why I was correcting some of you guys. For example, if you were saying, the world is so big, probably that's not very idiomatic, you know? Maybe it would be better to say something like, the world is big, right? Without the so, or the word is huge, for example. And I was correcting with you some expressions, you know, like developing yourself. Perhaps it's better to say growing as a person. But the purpose of that is sounding natural. It's not sounding like complicated or anything. So My suggestion would be try to sound natural. Don't force yourself to use words that you don't know how to use. The thing about vocabulary is using appropriate vocabulary, most importantly. So that means that if you're talking about relationships, you're not going to say something like, so me and my partner ended our relationship, for example. You're going to say, we broke up, first, let's say. So that broke up is the appropriate vocabulary for that context. If you're talking about business, in other questions of the speaking, you'll see that you talk about business, biology. So if you're talking about business, you're not going to say, so the store that sells this thing. You're going to say the company that sells this product, for example. So what matters the most is using appropriate vocabulary and sounding natural. So I wouldn't really suggest that you try to force yourself to use very complicated words because you will not sound natural and that can actually lower your score. So in the writing section, that's a different story because writing tends to be more formal. So of course that in the writing section, you're going to write a little bit more formal, but speaking section is not that formal. And, I got a normal response. I wouldn't say, obviously, I'm not telling you to use like, to curse here or to use informal language in itself, but I'm just asking you not to worry too much about like putting in there or forcing yourself to use very complex grammar or complex vocabulary, because that's not the goal. I took this test and I did it in the way that I'm telling you, and I got a really good score. I got 29 in speaking section. So that's what I would say. I don't know if I've answered your question or if there's something else or that you want me to clarify.
Thank you for answering.
Okay, is that okay? Do you guys have any other questions in that sense? I'll leave you here with the link. This is the rubric for the independent speaking, and you can also see the other one for the integrated questions. Any other questions? Okay, guys, so let's continue. Let's see. It says, some people think that children should be allowed to watch whatever television programs they choose. Others think that parents should exercise control over the television programs their children watch. Which do you agree with? Explain why. You will now have 15 seconds to prepare your responses. Okay, so why don't we go with Gabriela? Go ahead. Gabriela, you ready? All right. Okay. So don't worry about it, Gabriela. Maybe you can try next. Why don't we go with Camila?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
Right.
Well, I totally agree with the children shouldn't watch whatever they want, because since they can expose into many violence on TV. First of all, they have to have a parent's advice. As a matter of fact, it's so harmful for the children see whatever they want. Secondly, they have to get more criterion until they can see they can watch whatever they want. For example, when children grow up seeing whatever in the TV is, they couldn't form their own criteria.
Okay, good. Their own judgment, perhaps, instead of criteria. Criteria is like the rubrics. Actually, for example, this is the speaking criteria. The rubrics that that are used to evaluate something. So judgment. No, good. I mean, both reasons were different from one another. So they can be exposed to violence if they watch violent TV programs. And they don't have enough or a clear judgment yet. So it was really good, I'd say. The only thing, and this is a very useful comment for everyone, make sure that you guys know and that you master how to use the verbs agree, prefer, rather, and well, if you want to know any others that you can maybe use. But speaking of the verb agree, there are two ways in which you can use the verb agree, or agree and disagree, you know. You can say, I agree with, only when you guys are going to mention a noun. That means I agree with you. I agree with him. I agree with this statement. I agree with what the TV is saying, for example. So I agree with something or with someone, something or someone. But if you guys are going to mention what you agree about, what is the idea that you say that you agree with, then you need to, if you're going to specify what you agree with, you need to say, I agree that. So I agree that children shouldn't watch vision programs they choose to. I agree with this statement, and I agree that children shouldn't do this. Okay, right? So make sure that you practice this. You can look it up as well. Agree with versus agree that. Okay, you're going to use that verb a lot. Same thing with prefer, you know, prefer doing, prefer to do, rather do, and other verbs that you may use here. Is that okay?
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, sure. So our next question here says, some people believe it's essential for a person's education to learn to play a musical instrument. Others don't believe music education is important. Which view do you agree with? Explain why. Now you'll have 15 seconds to prepare. All right, why don't we go with someone? You there, someone? Could you please turn your camera on? Hello, someone, you there? Okay, maybe next time. What about Boris? Could you also please turn your camera on? Okay, guys, I think they're not here. So who else are we missing? Gabriela is not here anymore, isn't? Okay. So who wants to go then in that case?
May I try?
Yeah, of course, please. Go ahead.
Okay, I agree with the statement that it's essential for person education to learn to play a musical instrument, since you can develop your right side of the brain and you can relieve stress. Firstly, you can develop the right side of the brain for your practicing this emotional and this is emotional part. As a matter of fact, according to studies, you develop this side. Secondly, you can relieve stress as you are distracting your mind. To illustrate, I was practicing to play piano in order to entertain myself.
Okay, great, Luis. So I love the fact that now you have two different reasons, that they are not related, so it doesn't sound redundant at all. I like the fact that both of them have their own explanations, and I personally like how you added a detail, because it's really important to add details with these type of questions. So you said, I am personally playing the piano, which is a great detail to add here. I don't think I'd say I have anything to say, to be honest. Nothing to say. Always make sure that your introduction is as short as it can be so that you will have more time. So you don't necessarily have to read everything that's here. You can always summarize. But it was really good, Liz. Well, okay, guys, let's do this one here. It says, when looking for information for a research project, some students prefer to get their information mainly from the internet. Others prefer to mainly use printed materials such as books and academic journals. Which do you prefer? Explain why. Internet, printed materials. You'll now have 15 seconds to prepare your response. Okay, who wants to try now?
Can I try, please?
Yeah, for sure. Go ahead.
Okay. I think that it's a better option to get the information mainly from internet. For you have more options and you can compare them. Firstly, you have more options to find your information because there are many blogs about it. Since internet has a lot of recognizing blogs that can help you. As a matter of fact, I use internet in all my works, and it helps me to improve my score. And secondly, you can compare them. Oh, sorry.
Okay, you ran out of time. All right, fine. So I think it's good. I'd say maybe first thing, and this goes for everyone, I maybe wasn't paying attention to this too much, but I really recommend that you try to always answer using the same verb. So you're saying, I think it's a better option too. It's fine, but it would be more direct if you say, I prefer to get information from the internet. Don't try to use the same verb. Your reason was good. You have more options. You can compare them, you can contrast them. Okay, maybe if you like to be more idiomatic, you could say you can choose from a wider variety of options, perhaps. So to choose from a variety of options, so to choose variety of options. And actually, I like how you guys, most of you are using comparatives. And that's actually something I forgot to say as well. Using comparatives, so have more options, a wider variety of options, more concentration, more information or whatever. When you compare, you're indirectly contrasting with the other option, which answers the question more directly. So it's a really good tip to use comparatives in your reasons. Now, I like the fact that you had an example, but I would maybe try to make it a little bit more specific so that it doesn't sound like a memorized example. So I use the internet in all my projects. It's good, but it'd be better if you say, I had this project and I use the internet here, and tell me what assignment it was, or maybe for what class, when. So give me more details, is what I'd say for the example. But other than that, I think it was good. Okay, guys. Any questions so far? Next question says, some people who unexpectedly receive a large amount of money spend it on practical things, while others spend it for pleasure only. Which do you think is better and why? You'll now have 15 seconds to prepare your responses. Okay. Any other one? Any other volunteer that wants to try?
May I?
Yeah, sure, David. You may start now.
Okay. I think it's better spend money on practical things, since you save money and then you can donate for charitable things. Firstly, is you save money, as you can do a lot of things with this money. As a matter of fact, I save a lot of money for my own activities, and I don't need to spend on luxury things. Then it's donate for charity, and you are an altruistic person, and you can take care of others.
Good. You were able to pick two results, even though you were starting a little bit slower. Hurry up in the beginning so you have more time in the end. It's always better to go faster in the beginning, because if you think about it, especially if you guys are doing this, which is it's fine, but you need to do it faster. If you guys are saying, I prefer this, I think this, I think this is better, since, and then you have reason one plus reason two, then that should be the fastest part, because if you think about it, you will mention reason one and reason two later. So that should be the fastest part in your response. And then you can take your time for explaining reason one and reason two. So go faster in the beginning so that you have enough time for the reasons. Then no other comments. Careful. Remember what I was telling you guys, the verbs agree, prefer, another expression that you need to master, which is in some questions. Which do you think is better? Which view do you agree with? In this case, I think it's better to, always to. I think it's better to spend. And this applies for every other adjective plus verb. So I think it's good to, it's important to, it's necessary to, it's better, it's optimal, it's important, it's significant to, do, to see, to play. Always do. So maybe that, an expression, donate to charity instead of for charity. To donate to charity. And then no other comments. That's good. Hey guys. Then let's do this one. It says, state whether you agree or disagree with the following statement. Then explain your reasons using specific details in your explanation. Students should not be allowed to bring cell phones into the classroom. Now you guys have 15 seconds to prepare your responses. Okay. Anyone else that wants to try? All right, maybe Kelia. Hi there. Are you there, Kelia? Oh, Kayla. Sorry. All right, well. Julia, maybe?
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah. Okay, Julia, go ahead.
I think students should not be allowed to bring cell phones into the classroom for two main reasons. First, because they get distracted easily, and second, because they cheat on exams. But they get distracted easily for a cell phone. Well, students usually tend to use too much social media, so they will be easily distracted during the classroom. As a matter of fact, there was an article from the New York Times that says that usually students get too much attention to cell phone stuff that academic stuff. Secondly, they're going to be easy to cheat on exams as well. There's a variety of places in the internet to look for answers.
Okay, great. Perfect. So, love your responses, Julia. Really well done. What I'd say, well, I don't want to change the template. I don't want to change the structure. But maybe, in order to, even if you don't make it on time, the important thing is to make it look like you guys have finished on time. So I would recommend that when you are halfway there, when you have finished your first reason and your first evidence, try to make sure that you look at the clock, you try to fit or like manage your response according to the time you have left. So that at the end, it doesn't sound like you are running out of time. Even if you didn't get to say everything you wanted to, you can always make sure to make it look like you're finished. Like that's the last thing that you were going to say. So work with the time thing. Make sure that you're always, not always, but constantly looking at the clock and seeing how much time you have left so that you can work with that. But other than that, I think I have no comments. Your expressions are really idiomatic. You have the correct expressions, correct grammar. There was just one part. It's going to be easier, or it's gonna be easier. Then I don't think I have anything else to say. Good vocabulary, good delivery as well. Well done. Okay, guys. So what do you think so far? Do you have any questions? Do you have any comments before we go today?
Yeah, I have a question. Are we gonna have like a kind of chronometer during the exam, the TOEFL?
Oh yeah, yes, totally. It'll be not exactly the way we're doing it. It'll be obviously more automatized, but you will basically, they will read the question for you. You will see it on your screen, and they will tell you. I can show you guys a video. I think that'd be the best thing, so that you get to see how it's actually going to be the day of your test on your screen. So hang on a second. It's a short video, don't worry about it. See?
Number 1. In this question, you will be asked to give your opinion about a familiar topic. After you hear the question, you will have 15 seconds to prepare your response. In this question, you will be asked to give your opinion about a familiar topic. After you hear the question, you will have 15 seconds to prepare your response and 45 seconds to speak. State whether you agree or disagree with the following statement. Then explain your reasons, using specific details in your explanation. Learning through online courses is more effective than learning in the traditional classroom setting.
Begin to prepare your response after the beep. Begin speaking after the beep.
So that's how it's going to work. It's similar to what we've been doing, but it'll be that you'll be hearing a narrator, like that's going to walk you through the instructions, read the question for you, and that's what I was saying in the beginning. How the questions go. So in this case, there's no reason to read the first part. You should focus on the second and start preparing. And then they will say, begin preparing your response after the beep. You will hear the beep, and then you need to start preparing. 15 seconds are over, they'll say, begin speaking after the beep. You hear the beep, 45 seconds are going to go by. After the 45 seconds are over, they'll stop recording, and whatever you say after that is not gonna be worth anything, right? They won't record it. So 45 seconds exactly for you to speak or to do whatever you want, but they will record those 45 seconds. Okay, guys? And that's what's going to be evaluated. So when you're preparing, you can speak and no problem, but when the 45 seconds are running, that's what's going to be evaluated. So that's how it's going to be. Yes, Julia?
Yeah, but it's gonna be like the same for like face-to-face TOEFL because I have to go to a center the 12th December to take the TOEFL. Like it's not true accommodation.
Well, it doesn't matter. Both are IBT, which means both are internet-based tests. Go to a test center. I personally took it in a test center. It'll be exactly like this. You'll be sitting at a desk and taking the test through a screen, through a computer. So it's exactly like you were taking the test at home, but it's just going to be somebody else's computer. But it's always computerized. There's no such thing as like having the questions on paper or meeting with somebody. Everything is on a computer. Yeah, is that okay? Any other question before we go?
Are we gonna do the question 2 tomorrow, right?
Yeah, I believe so. Where did you guys left off exactly? What did you already do?
We're in the intro for the question too, like just an introduction, a brief introduction.
Okay, so just basically a description of what you have to do and what it is. Okay. All right, okay. So yes, we will continue starting next class tomorrow. We'll be working on the template, some tips, and if we have time, we can practice a little bit. Okay, guys, any other question before we go? Please don't go yet. We have to answer a little survey. So please, you should be able to see a little poll on your screen. 3 questions. Could you please answer them? And then you're free to go, unless of course you have questions.
If I already answer, may I leave?
Yeah,
Okay. Thank you, teacher. See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
Thank you. See you tomorrow.
Bye, guys. Take care.